Well, good afternoon, and hopefully everybody can hear me. So the VLE is undead. Actually, what that of course means, it is very much alive and kicking. Now, we can talk about personal learning, we can talk about personalisation, but the reality is that in this country, students and learners like to come together in institutions, whether they be universities, colleges or schools. And all that a virtual learning environment is an online version of a physical learning environment. The argument that VLEs can just be content repositories is a bit like saying that libraries are purely content repositories and that learning never happens in a library. Now, if you're at a university there, you go and have a look at the university library, I can bet you 10 pence that you will find lots of learners in there learning. They'll be using the content that's in there, but actually the learning will be taking place with the aid of the content. And it's the same with the VLE. Now, if all you ever use it for is as a content repository, obviously you're missing out on many of the opportunities. But it doesn't mean it is just a content repository. The other thing, of course, is that institutions aren't personal, full stop. Now, that's whether you think that's a good or bad thing is irrelevant, because learners make that choice to attend an institution. And therefore they are making that choice, in other words, to group with other learners, a social activity, and make their learning much more social. And the VLE can also then enhance and enrich that by keeping that social learning happening at a time and place to suit the learner. So it's not just about saying that VLEs are impersonal, it's not just saying that the VLEs are not content repositories. It would be absolutely fantastic if all our learners were able to choose and go for all different kinds of tools that are out there to suit their personal needs. But that implies that all our learners are Google generation or digital natives. And I think anybody who's read anything, there's some great blog posts about how, I think it's called In Your Face Print Scheme by a certain Steve Wheeler, which says that the digital native concept doesn't exist. And basically, we can't assume that learners know how to go out there and find these tools. What they need is they need guidance and support from staff. And the implication is that all staff can do this, again, is not true. Staff need some kind of guidance to start them off going. VLE is not perfect, but it's not saying that it's the only choice that's out there for learners. They can choose other tools, they can go out there and choose other things. But for most learners and for most staff, the VLE is their first step onto using the internet and the web in order to enhance and enrich learning. The problem is that most of us probably in this room, well, of course I'm not actually in this room, I use technology in order to get into the room, are very familiar with tools such as Twitter. We probably do have our Facebook accounts. We are using Wordle. We are using SlideShare. We're using all these fantastic Web 2.0 tools. But not all the staff in our institutions are. Many of our staff have only just started using the internet. Many of our staff are only just kind of like getting used to the concept of supporting learners through online services and tools. And the VLE can be a good starting point for that. Now, of course, I think part of the issue is that most universities in the UK use a system called Blackboard, whereas if you go into the FE sector, most of them are using Moodle. What does that mean? Well, Moodle is an open source piece of software which enables you to adjust and change the VLE to suit the needs of the majority of your learners. There's no license fee, so there's no lock-in. You can change it, you can add to it if you so wish, and there is a huge community supporting it. So, let me kind of finish off by the kind of question that often people say about VLE, that learning doesn't happen on a VLE. Well, a VLE in itself is just a place to go. It's a bit like a classroom, it's a bit like a seminar room, it's a bit like a place where learners congregate. But learning only happens in classrooms, in libraries, in kitchens, in workshops, in salons, in workplaces. It's a key person there is to support that process, the teacher. Okay, now the teacher may be other learners, I hasten to add at this point. But learning is a group activity. A VLE allows that learning to happen in a time and place to suit the learner without them having to worry about all these new tools, all these exciting tools. That can come later. So learning does happen in the VLE in the same way that it happens in a library, in a classroom, in a seminar. And it happens when that learning is facilitated by a teacher who guides the learners in a direction and gives them a choice about where they want to go. So is the VLE dead? Well, to be honest, it's not. You only have to look around the UK to see VLEs being well used across all the different sectors in primary, secondary, FE and in some universities. VLEs aren't dead, VLEs are very much alive. That's me done.
If you could type this out, thanks.